Raider Nation, what's going on? A lot of you guys that know me understand how excited I am today. This is like my Christmas. I got a good one today. Got Hue Jackson in the building. We got some things to talk about. Let's get to it. Nation, welcome to Protect the Shield podcast. It's your boy Chris. Please take a second to subscribe, like, and share. It only takes a second, and most importantly, it's free. But man, I have a good show today. As you guys know, I'm super excited. I have former Oakland Raider coach, the last coach ever hired by the great legendary Al Davis, the chief partner for Grand Leyenda Tequila, and currently he's a head coach of the mighty Grambling State Tigers. Coach Hue Jackson, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's an honor to sit here with you, Chris, and talk about some great days. Being one of the leaders of the Raiders and working for the late great Al Davis, there's nothing like those memories because they were special times.
Man, just as a fan, man, that was a special time for me because we were bad for so long, man. And then when you came in 2010, you just gave that offense, mouth to mouth, and they were just got going. And then 2011 they got going. So you definitely some good days, man. But I do have some beef with you that I got to talk about.
Yes, sir.
Why can I not find in Ohio your tequila in any of the stores? And who do I need to talk to make that happen?
Oh no, it is there. So it's at, I got to remember it is in Ohio somewhere for sure, and it will definitely be there here very soon.
Okay.
But it's at Total Wines, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And I know it's there, and it was downtown. It was I forget the name of the store that we had it in downtown, but I'm gonna get all that for you to make sure that you can get some Grand Leanda 100% organic tequila because it's the best thing out there in my opinion.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I need. I need some organic tequila in my life. But on a more serious note, man, a couple days ago, we lost
Mm.
a great man on and off the field, a super athlete, activist, actor. I know he was a mentor and a friend to you, man, but just wanted to say rest in peace to him. But what impact did Big Jim Brown have on your life, man?
Oh wow, I never forget the day I was named the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. One of the first calls I got was from Jim Brown. And it was just amazing, to have him come around, be a part of the team. His America ICANN foundation that he started, he spent 3 days sharing that with the team because I thought it was so important. And so you just said it. I mean, here's a guy that was one of the greatest football players in the history of the National Football League. At the height of his career, he pivoted and became obviously an actor, a great actor, and then became a civil rights leader. I mean, he did it all the best that anybody could do it. He was a tremendous man. He was a good friend. He was a mentor. He was someone I could call, bounce things off of. But
Yeah.
he was just phenomenal. And again, my heart goes out to his family, to Monique, his wife, and his children, because he got a son that's up and coming that's going to be a football player too. And
Wow.
again, we lost a great one, and you said it. But it's really interesting when I look at my life, the people I've been involved with, because I look at Al that way.
Yeah.
Al was somebody who was near and dear to me as well. So I kind of, when I sit back and think of the people that I've been involved with, I'm just grateful and thankful
Yeah.
that God has put these people in my life.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's me being born and raised in Ohio, my dad was, is a diehard Browns fan. He's old school. So,
Hmm.
when I talk about all these young running backs, he's like, "Oh boy, you don't know nothing. It's all about Big Jim." And then show me those highlights, and I'm like, man, he was just a man amongst boys, man. And it was just
Hmm.
a pleasure to be able to, see him play. I mean, not, just be able to see highlights, man, but wish I had the chance to meet him, but you definitely we're lucky to have him in your life. So that's awesome.
Hmm.
So just kind of going to your beginning. So you were born and raised in South Central, right?
Yep, South Central LA, went to Dorsey High School and
Okay.
always wanted to play at USC. And being very honest, I wasn't good enough. I had to go play the junior college route and went to University of Pacific and played football there, lettered there, played football, basketball, and then decided I wanted to be a coach. And then my career kind of just took off.
So I know you. So you actually started coaching where you played, right?
Yes,
Pacific. That's
sir.
where you. Okay. So at that point, did you always know you wanted to be a coach? Was that a passion of yours?
I did. I knew I could lead people, right? At the time, I was the quarterback in high school, kind of knew that I had an effect on my teammates because we would always work out together and I would lead those workouts. So I felt like I had that kind of leadership quality that you look for. But the thing that is, I would say to anybody who's listening today, you can be in this life whatever you want to be. Because when I walk back through where I came from, I remember going to USC and working for CSC Security, the yellow shirts that used to work around during that time, and
Yeah.
going watching the USC games, and ended up being one of the leaders there, becoming the offensive coordinator there for John Robinson. Also working the Raiders games at the time when they were at the Coliseum and watching Al Davis and his entourage walk out there and being one of the people who helped the cheerleaders get to their camper that they had out back. So when I think about those things, I wanted to be in those spaces so bad. I wanted to coach at USC. I
Yeah.
wanted to work for Al Davis. And when this thing is over for me, when I look back, I was blessed to have a chance to do the things I said I wanted to do, and I did them.
Absolutely. So and that's, man, that's amazing. So who were your like main influences as far as like your coaching style? So like as far as philosophies goes, like is there anyone in particular that you watch and you're like, man, I want to study that particular style and emulate that?
There's so many great coaches that I had an opportunity to work up under. When obviously my best friend is Marvin Lewis,
Yeah.
who I just adore because he let me in and showed me what it took to become a big time NFL coach. But I can go all the way back to my time with John Robinson, to Marty Schottenheimer, Steve Mariucci. There were some people who really helped craft my way. And when I think of John Harbaugh, who's still at Baltimore today,
Hmm.
those are people who've had huge influences on my career and on my life. And I could not give those men the credit that they're due, because you take little pieces
Of
of
everyone.
things from people, yeah, but you don't steal from them, you just learn from them, but
Right.
you make it who you are. It had to be authentic, and it was. But at the same time, those guys, I seen so many things that they taught me as I went through this process, this journey that I've been on, and it's just been amazing for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, you know, pre Raiders, you had you were in some positional coaching jobs.
Hmm.
And most notable, that Bengals receiving group that you coached. I mean,
Yes.
you had a young Chad, you had TJ, you had Chris Henry, rest in peace, but you had some dogs. Like what was it like being in that wide receiver room? I mean, because so many different personalities, but what was it like?
But you just said it. It was so many different personalities, and you had to learn how to manage those,
Yeah.
because all of them were alpha males, and they all wanted the ball. They all wanted to be the feature in everything that happened. And I'll never forget, we used to meet with the whole offense. The coordinator did, Bob Burkowski. And I never forget, the receivers, they felt like they wasn't getting anything out of it. And I understood, because as a coordinator, you have to talk to the offensive line, the quarterbacks, the tight ends, the running backs, and the receivers. They wasn't feel like they were getting what they needed. So I never forget, one day the guy said, "Look, Hugh, we need you to coach us, and let's just stay in our meeting room, and you coach us on what we need to do. We'll take the fines if there's going to be some, or whatever that is." And I said, okay, because that's what they needed. And I'll never
Right.
forget Coach Burkowski, God bless him. He finally said, "You know what, Hugh, take them." but boy, they can't make mistakes. I go, I got it. It's my responsibility. And those guys played their tails off for each other and for me. And I was just thankful that he allowed me to influence those guys each and every day, and those guys had great careers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were just some dogs. Just being in Ohio, I watched a lot of them, along with the Browns. But they were just fun to watch.
Hmm.
It was great. But so then I know after that, I think you went to the Falcons for a little bit, and then you were a quarterback coach at the Ravens.
Hmm.
Um, and you get pretty much the credit for developing Joe Flacco at the time. Big guy, could spin the ball. First rookie ever to win 2 playoff games. How was it like
Hmm.
working with Joe?
It was awesome. Chris, that was probably the breakthrough in my career.
Hmm.
And I say that for this reason because a lot of minority coaches were not coaching quarterbacks, just like even today.
Right.
If you look around, there's not a lot of guys who get to coach that position. And so that's why I credit John Harbaugh. And he never wants to take that credit, but I do because he didn't see color, he seen talent. And he
Right.
said, hey, look, you come in here and coach this quarterback, help me draft this quarterback, you raise this quarterback, and let's see where this thing goes. And Joe Flacco, God bless him, he allowed me to coach him. The players there, when you have Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and Terrell Suggs and Haloti Ngata and all these great defensive players,
Yeah.
they were itching to have a quarterback that they could call their own.
Yeah.
And we drafted Joe Flacco, and I never forget the first OTA practice. Mark Clayton was running a big post, and Joe just let it go.
Yeah.
And Ray Lewis came up to me and said, Hugh, that looked just like Carson Palmer. He
Ooh.
goes, we got us a guy. And he was so fired up. And to watch, Joe's career take off, being in the
Mhm.
playoffs as a rookie, AFC championship game, second year. And then the guy has led the team to a Super Bowl. I mean,
Yeah.
that's phenomenal. And so again, like I said, when I think about the people I've been around, the players I've had opportunity to coach, none better than those receivers that you mentioned from Cincinnati, because I love them. Those guys are near and dear, even to this day, to my heart. But
Yeah.
boy, I've had a chance to be around a lot of great players, a lot of great people, and a lot of great people who've been great in the National Football League.
Absolutely. No, that's awesome. So I know from then that kind of springboarded you to when you joined the Raiders as an
Hmm.
OC in 2010. So, kind of before we get to the details of that season, one thing, because I was actually talking to Stu Swaggart a few weeks ago, and I was kind of getting into it with him, or not getting into it, but just understanding the draft process with Al Davis. Because, us fans, we hear certain stuff, and I got to know. So, how is the draft process with Al Davis?
Listen, Al, Coach Davis is what I
Coach
call
Davis,
him.
yep.
He had his hand on everything, the draft, the defense especially. He wanted someone who could run the offense. That was not his specialty. His specialty was defense.
Defense.
He was one of the most special human beings I've ever had an opportunity to work with. I heard all these stories coming in just about how different he was, how he handled things, how he would not get close to coaches, how he did not see eye to eye with coaches. I experienced that very quickly, but
Okay.
for whatever reason, we had this bond. And I think it's because of my time interviewing with him. I
Yeah.
interviewed with him for about 6 hours. And people don't know when a guy can stand there and grill you on football
And know it.
you and know it.
Yeah.
You just said it. I mean, he to the day I really believe to the day he passed, he never lost his faculties. He never lost himself. I mean, he could talk football with you. He could talk strategy with you. He could talk whatever he wanted to. And so the influence he had on me, he gave me an opportunity, one, to be his head coach, but more so than that, he taught me what it was like to be a Raider and
Wow.
really what it meant and how he went about building a football team. I just remember the conversations about when he was growing up and he got a chance to see the Yankees,
Yeah.
being in New York and how good and how athletic they looked. And then coming to California and watching the Dodgers and seeing the speed and
Yeah.
how it influenced him
Yeah.
and how he saw, putting a team together. He really thought it was big, physical, and fast.
Pass.
And
Yeah.
so that was the number one thing for him. And so if you a guy that ran fast, you had a chance to be on the Raiders. If
Oh
you had
yeah.
a guy that had unbelievable characteristics physically, you had a chance to be on the Raiders. If you
Yeah.
had extreme toughness, you had a chance to be on the Raiders because he was influenced by the things he was influenced coming up, and it made the Raiders great. I mean, he turned that organization. This guy was a coach.
Yeah.
You know, he was a coach, and then he became a GM. He became an own. He understood it from head to toe, and
He
so
did.
I just to sit at his knee and learn about why you do the things you do and how you put teams together, and they have to be in your vision and your image, and that's why the Raiders were what they were. And I always say this to people: the reason why I've always felt the Raiders had changed a little bit is because they got away from that blueprint. You know,
Yeah.
the blueprint is that he established that that's just the way they were built. You could look every year and see that's the type of players that were on the team, and you knew what you were going to get. You know, and
Yeah.
and I get it. It's changed a little bit, and deservingly so. Those things happen, but at the same time, that was the Raiders' way, and that was Al Davis's way.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was. Yeah. I always wondered that because I would hear stories of, the coaches would have their mind set on someone, and then in the final hour, Al would come in like, "Hey, no, we're going with him," and I'm like, "Was it really like that?"
Oh, yes, it was. I mean, I can tell you a story with the linebacker. How would I forget his name from Alabama?
Rolando McClain.
I'll never forget this story. We were sitting, and here I am. I'm there for the first time, and we're watching the tape. Now he would sit there and watch the tape with us.
Yeah.
When you walked into that draft room, all the times from the 40s and high school times were already up there.
That's
And
crazy.
I'll never forget, we were watching the tape, and Al said, "Boy, we're taking this guy." And he goes, "Anybody has, anything they want to say?" And everybody wasn't going to say anything. I didn't know any better. So I started talking. I started getting kicked underneath the table from one of the assistant coaches, like, "Don't say
Don't do
nothing."
that.
Here I am. And I'm going, and he goes, "Who's talking?" I
Oh,
said, "Hue Jackson." He goes, "Oh, the great Hue Jackson, huh?" He goes, "What do you know
uh-oh.
about linebackers?" I go, "Well, I was just with Ray Lewis." And
Ooh,
I know what the great ones look like, because what I thought, Ronaldo was a really good player, but
big,
at the
yeah,
point of attack, he was different. He didn't
yeah,
take things on. He was a chase player,
yeah, yeah.
whereas Ray Lewis chased and
Got,
took things
yeah,
on at the point of
yeah.
attack. And so he says, I never forget. He goes, "Well, regardless of what you think," he goes, "we're taking this guy," and that was it. So I'll never forget that night. I was sitting at home. My phone rings. And Monica Sweeten time, I'll never forget it because she was the secretary. Al Davis never said bye, and he never called you. Somebody else would always call you first. And
Uh-huh.
Monica she says, "Al is on the phone. He wants to talk to you." And I go, "Okay." So I got on the phone, and Al says, "Okay, so you felt like you needed to say something in that meeting today." And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, thank you." Because most guys won't say anything. I go, "Well," I knew what I saw. And he goes, "Well," and he was very blunt about it. He says, "I don't care what you saw." He said, "We're
That's great.
taking this guy as
That
the
is
first
great.
pick of the draft." He goes, "And that is it." He says, "But I appreciate you saying what you feel." Click, and hung up the phone.
Oh man. It
The rest was history. And then that next year, I already knew that we were taking Jacoby Ford in the third round because that was decided way before the draft. It was already done.
oh man.
And that's who Al was. But you having an appreciation for that, right? I mean, because he studied it. It'd be different if he didn't. And,
Right.
if he was here today, he would say, "Hey, look, I made some mistakes on some things." He would. I mean, Darius Hayward-Bay, bless him. Darius Hayward-Bay has had a great career, but we all know with the 6th overall pick as a receiver, you wish you got more out of him. But
Yeah.
we did in 2011. He almost had 1,000 yards receiving.
Yeah.
So it's just there's things that I think he would have done over, but at the same time, he was so influenced by what he was influenced by, you couldn't help but respect it because he knew what it looked like, what it felt like, and what it should play like.
Absolutely. No, that's wow, man. That's a heck of a story. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Oh
that.
yeah.
Um, so as far as 2010 is going on, and you had an
Hmm.
immediate impact on that offense. 6th in the league in scoring, 10th in total offense. second in the league in rushing. And anyone that knows me knows one of my favorite players that ever throw on the Raider jersey was Darren McFadden.
Oh my God.
I look at him like Derrick Rose, man. If he wouldn't have got hurt, I mean, I love watching him play. He was as big as he was, as fast as he was. He would run you over. He'll run around you. He had them little skinny legs, but that boy can run, man. How was it? How was it like coaching him?
It's really interesting you brought that up. When I walked in the building, I could tell that there were some guys that were starving for success. I looked at Darren McFadden. Al had gave me the rundown on every player on offense, and I knew who they were, where they were drafted, what the expectation was. I'll never forget the first time in the weight room because I went downstairs because Jamarcus Russell was working out. And I wanted to see it. Darren McFadden, Michael Bush, and my man Marcel Reese were downstairs. I'll never forget this conversation. So I walk over to Darren and I say, Darren, tell me what runs do you like to run? And he goes, oh, coach, man, you have to be around to know how Darren talks. And Darren says, coach, man, he goes, I don't mind running the zone play because I want to go downhill. He goes, yeah. He goes, I want to go downhill. I want to run power. I want to ISO. He goes, and I'll run zone every now and then and flip me the ball every now and then, coach. He said, because they can't get me. Yeah. And I said, okay. He goes, no, coach, you ain't going to be able to do that. I go, Darren, yes, we will. We'll do that. He goes, nah. I go, I promise you, that's what we'll do. And he says, no, coach, they're going to make you run zone because everything was zone. So I'm leading into the story because this is what happened. So I never forget, we put in all these other things, but they weren't going to go in first because the team was a zone team. Yeah. So the first practice, the first OTA practice, I wanted the guys to hit the ground running and do things that they were familiar with so that they would feel like, okay, coach is not just going to change everything. So we started off running zone and we had a really good practice. And I'll never forget, I got home later on that night, about 9:30, my phone rings. It's Al Davis. It's Monica against Al Davis. He says, Hue Jackson, what the F was that? I go, huh? He goes, I didn't hire you to run zone. I didn't bring you here to run zone. I said, Al, that was just the first install. He says, this is the only time I've ever had a conversation with Al Davis that was difficult. He says, I didn't bring you here to run that. I brought you here because you have all this skill with power and unbalance and all these. And that's why I said, that's coming. He goes, I want it now. Click. I got in my car because he never said bye. I got in my car, drove back to the facility, changed all the rest of the installations as we move forward. And that was the history of it.
Oh my gosh. That is hilarious because just again, as a fan, we always heard how much Tom Cable loved the zone. Like that was his thing, man.
It was.
And just seeing McFadden, we're like, he's a downhill power guy.
Yes.
Oh man, that's wow.
Yeah, no, these guys, and you think of him and Michael Bush and the influence of Marcel Reese and what he did. I mean, he really made the fullback position different than what it is today because of his ability to split out and catch the ball and make plays with his legs and his hands. And it was just, there was a group of very, very talented players there that could run like a Dickens, that were hungry. They listened. And the thing that really made it go was the offensive line. Those guys were phenomenal.
Yeah.
They were phenomenal.
Yeah, had some big boys up there. So just going kind of to that offense. I mean, not only you had McFadden, you had some track stars, on both sides, and Jacoby Ford and Hayward Bay. So we had a lot of speed. Tight end Pro Bowler Zach Miller. You guys had all the pieces just to be great. And one thing I just remember watching you just being a fan watching you were aggressive, man. So it's like, it's nothing for you to do a play action on the very first play and go deep. May not work, but you keeping the defense on their toes. And I love it.
Right. Well, everybody knew who the Raiders were.
Right.
They knew we could run. So if
Right.
you didn't take advantage of that, and let people know, look, we're going to try to run by you, then to me, you shouldn't be coaching. I mean, that's what you have them there for. And the guys, they just really believed it, and they really believed that they could beat anybody.
Yeah.
That confidence start to come because we could see it in practice, and then on the game field, that's what they truly believe.
Right. No, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. So that team ends up 8-8, which is upgrade from 5-11 the previous year. The unique thing is we won all our division games, but still
Yes.
missed the playoffs. So that was
How does that
tough.
happen?
I don't know.
And we rushed for over 200 yards a game average against the division.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yes, that's what I was like. Because you had Darren McFadden playing so good, man. It was
Mhm.
like he didn't even. I think he may even got hurt, but he still got about 1,200 yards. I mean, he averaged I think 5.4, 5.7 a
Oh
carry.
yeah, no, he
It,
did.
it was crazy, man. So, but anyway, so that season's over. Cable doesn't get re-signed. You're promoted to head coach. So fans like me, I'm hyped. I'm like, oh, it's about to go down. It's about to go down. So just looking at the 2011, we started off 2-2. Could have been 3-1.
Right.
I think one of those games, was close.
Hmm.
McFadden was busting their butts, man. He was averaging, I think, $117 yards per game in the first 4 games. Going into week 5, away game in Houston. Devastating news.
Oh yeah.
And our great Al Davis passes away before the game. So I wanted to play just a quick clip of this play. And I know you probably remember it like yesterday.
Hmm.
Just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that play, just leading up to it and afterwards. I'm going to play it real fast.
That gives me chills still.
Man, it gives me chills as a fan. I
Oh yeah.
mean, but I can only imagine how you felt. Can you just I mean, most of our fans understand that play, but can you just kind of walk us through why that play was so important and just what it meant at the time?
Well, to really walk you through it, I would have to take you back to right before we got ready to travel. I never forget, I kept hearing so many different stories that Al wasn't doing well. They were like, hey, Hue, Al's not doing well, but we always talked. We talked almost every day. So I knew I was going to talk to him before. Anytime I got ready to take the team away, I would always talk to him and give me some instruction. And so he called me, and I can hear him. I can hear the breathing machine in his room. And I never forget. He said, Hugh, you're doing a great job. He says, keep pushing them. He says, you have a really good team. He says, we're winning in the end. That I'll never forget. He said that to me, and I said, Al, I said, no doubt. And he said, hey, make sure nobody sits in my seat on the plane. That was Al. That was a little levity, and he's like, I'm in here fighting, and things are going to be great. So I never get because when we travel across country, we go a day early. So we got to Houston, we left on a Friday, got there Friday evening, and here we are. And like you said, the news, Mark came to my room and told me I had to tell the team that morning what was going on, and here's this game. And like I told the guys before we went out, the one thing he would want us to do is go win this game. That's just who Al was. Everybody would play it. Look, we're the Raiders, baby. Let's go win the game.
Wow.
But what will always stick with me is that part he says you win it in the end. So
Mm.
as that play was going on, I was told Hue will only have 10 guys on the field. And I could have took a timeout and
Mm.
said, hold up, but the ball was about to be snapped. And I go, let's play it. And something said to me, play it. Just let
Mm.
it play out. We got 10 guys on the field, but really we had 11 because Al was there. There's no question in my mind. I think we all could feel that. And for that interception to happen and for us to win that game, it validated that for me. God is good.
Wow.
Al was there. We won that game, and it was just, I'll never forget it. Ever.
Wow. That was, yeah. That was crazy. That was crazy. And the crazy thing that was just the beginning of just some of the trials and tribulations of the season.
Yes.
So after winning that game, we're 3-2, so we're 3-2. Then we go play Cleveland, 4-2, win that game.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a game that we lose Jason Campbell. Our starting quarterback gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
He was playing very efficient. He was running the offense. We were looking good. What's going through your mind at this point? Because I know we had Kyle Bowler, and then we also had Terrell Pryor, but I'm thinking he probably wasn't ready yet. So
Yeah, Terrell wasn't ready. Cal, I didn't think gave us the best chance to win at the time. I talked to Mark and I said, Mark, we got to go find a guy. At the time, the Denver Broncos were calling. I forget the young man's name. They were trying to unload him to us. I didn't think that was going to get us through. I just felt like we needed whatever we could find that was going to be better. And so to this day, everybody, and finally Mark came out and said it, everybody thought that I was the one that put Carson Palmer on the team and made the trade and all that,
misconception.
which I did not,
Yeah.
And so, but I had to live with that. But I want to walk you back though, Chris,
Okay.
because when I tell you about decisions that Al made, that boy, I guarantee you, he looks back now on and says, boy, I wish I would have did it different. In 2010, our defensive coordinator was John Marshall. And John Marshall was phenomenal. Now I'm going to take you to a game, and nobody knows this. We're playing Jacksonville in Jacksonville. And I remember, if you remember that game, it was a shootout. Darren McFadden's going crazy. He catches a check down and runs for 90-yard touchdown. He's running the ball all over the place. We really should have won that game. The defense, John Marshall put in a defense that Al Davis, as I told you, he ran the defense that Al Davis knew nothing about. We had 3 safeties playing in the game when Al doesn't believe in that. So there was a offensive personnel that Jacksonville played that John thought it'd be better to play with 3 safeties. Coach Cable was okay with it. And it might have made it if they would have let Al know. Well, after that game, that's when I knew John Marshall was fired. So heading into my year, I wanted to keep John Marshall. Remember now, so go back and think. The defense was in the top 10 as well.
Yeah.
The defense was ranked.
Oh, under Marshall? They were
10th.
Okay.
They were 10th or 8th in defense that year.
Okay.
You go back and look. So I'm begging to keep John Marshall, and Al. That's just how Al was. If you defy him, if you don't do what he asks, I never forget they called down after that play because it caused them to win a game. They threw a big old pass and they ended up winning the game because of it.
Yeah.
Al was done. He was done. And I'm like, Al, I want to bring him back. He goes, no. He goes, you're not hiring him. He's gone. He's gone. Well, this guy was one, he understood the defense. He knew exactly what it needed to do. So, I'm not trying to throw wound on anybody who was there, but we went from 6th or 8th or whatever it was in defense to 32nd the next year with almost the same players and some better players.
Yeah.
So that was my disappointment because I thought we had the right stuff. I thought we were well on our way. Like you said, we had the injuries, no doubt.
Yeah.
Losing Jason Campbell was huge, right? And Carson Palmer coming on the team because I recruited Carson in high school. He played for me at USC. I was with Carson in Cincinnati. So everybody thought it was my doing. That's why I left the field when he was out there throwing. I left Al Saunders out there with Mark Davis and everybody because I didn't want people to say this is Hue's doing.
Yeah.
Because the guy was on the couch. But the one player that I thought that could do what I wanted him to do faster was Carson.
Was Carson? Yeah.
He was going to give us because he knew me. He knew what I wanted, how I
Saw the
wanted
game
it.
the way you see it.
Absolutely. And so, and most coaches, that's what you do. But I wasn't going to make a decision on what the value was going to be to give up to get him.
Right.
That wasn't my choice. That wasn't my decision.
I want him, whatever it takes to get him.
Yes, that's not me. I had nothing to do with that. I wasn't going to mortgage the team. Mark made that decision, brought him on board because this is what Mark said. He goes, "Hue, I believe this is a good enough team. They deserve a chance to win."
Yeah.
And you know what? He's right. We go to the last game of the year, as you know, playing San Diego. We don't make them punt. They don't punt one time. And that's what was disappointing for me. And we still scored 23 points. And we had been owning San Diego. I mean, just owning them. And the time when we needed it the most, we didn't play as well defensively. And then, the rest was history.
Yeah, because I know that game, because even Carson went off that game. I think he had like 400 and something yards.
Yes.
He went off, man.
Yes, it was, and I can say this now because it's been many years since this happened. What I believe happened is we had a group of guys who, the offensive side where I spent a lot of time, they knew exactly what we were trying to accomplish and how we wanted to, where I knew I needed to grow as a head coach.
Yeah.
I had to coach the whole team. And I say that because we had guys on defense. I never forget guys were talking about moving, sending their stuff back to homes and all that. Look, we finna play in the playoffs. We finna host a home playoff game.
Yeah, we're not packing up yet.
Yeah, we're not sending stuff. And some guys brought that to my attention. So I had a big meeting where I told the guys, no, we're not going home. We got a game to go win this week.
Yeah.
And I never forget, that's what was kind of happening where I think guys wasn't used to being in that situation.
They're ready.
And here we were. We get a chance to do something different and leave a legacy here that was going to be way different. And we didn't finish it.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible, man. That's incredible. So not only that, so you go through that. And somehow you got to continue to keep the team together. So then we're 4-2 heading into week 7, right when you think nothing could get any worse. My boy, Darren McFadden gets hurt. I think he was probably leading the league or like third in rushing.
Was number one rusher.
Yeah.
Averaging 6.1 yards a carry and was going to be the MVP of the National Football League.
And he's hurt.
There was nobody better than Darren McFadden. Nobody.
Yeah,
he was playing. His confidence was through the roof. He was playing lights out. And what I wish people could see is how the young man practiced.
That's what I heard.
Was fun. Look, he is the best practice player. Him, Chad Johnson, TJ Hushmanzada. That's what makes those guys so good. What they did in practice is what they did in the game.
So now, at this point, where's your mind at? I know you have to be sick right now.
I am, because he was. I mean, we had that thunder and lightning going, right? Darren was lightning and Bush was coming.
Yeah.
Marcel was doing this thing, and so. And don't get me wrong, Mr. Bush did a great job after Darren got hurt, but he was different.
It's different. It's a different.
You just say he's a different type of runner, and so. You have to change up a little bit, to accommodate for what we were doing. It changed the line a little bit. And I just felt like we missed that home run strike that Darren had, because Darren was going to be good for 14 points a game because we were going to find a way to get him in space and you weren't going to catch him. That's just
even if you did catch him, even if you did, you may not want to. That stiff arm was nasty.
You just said it. He was physical. He was tough. He was fast. And even though he was an upright runner, he was just so physical.
That was my guy, man.
Oh yeah, he was mine too. Trust me. And so that hurt. And then I never forget. I thought there was a chance we were going to get him back. And then when I learned what the Liz Frank was, and then you lose Jacoby Ford during the year, it just we started to bleed a little bit. You lose your quarterback, you you lose the guy who was really running things, which was Jason,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
was hard. Even though Carson was a good fill-in, it's hard to lose your quarterback, the guy who holds all the glue together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you lose the best player on your offensive football team, bar none.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the guy that made it all go. And so here we became different, and because we had to, but we wasn't as good as we needed to be. And
Right.
so it made a difference for our football team.
Yeah, absolutely. That was just tough. That was tough, man. And then
But the game that will stick with me, the game that to me, had we won, would have changed everything. I think it would have even changed the momentum for the Raiders at that time. It was the Detroit Lions game.
Were we supposed to win that? I imagine.
We were ahead. Do you not remember the receiver going down the middle of the field on Calvin Johnson running down the middle of the field
covered by a linebacker?
Who was the linebacker? Who was the linebacker?
Was it Morrison?
No, McLean.
Oh,
and
McLean.
I almost died on the sideline because that was a coverage you cannot run with this guy because he was inside. You got to check the coverage. You can't
let out. Yeah,
you just said it. So I almost fainted on the side. We finna win this game. The game in my mind's over. And so we remember that game was 40 something or 30 something or whatever it was. We win that game. It's, to me, we're in the playoffs. There's no question. We win the division. It's over, and we lose it. And I'll never forget that. It was, oh my gosh. I'll never forget that one.
Gosh, you just brought me back, man. I remember again, like as a fan, like I was probably at some bar just yelling at the TV, like, how do you leave Calvin?
You just said it.
Oh man, I forgot about that. Wow.
Yep. So that's what takes me back to that John Marshall decision, right?
Yeah.
And it just again, it is what it is. But Al was the defense coordinator. He was, and again, when he passed, it was different because now that person didn't have to answer to him. When he hired me, he said, "Look, Hue, you coach the team." I said, "Okay." He says, "You run the offense."
Yeah.
He says, "I run the defense." That's what he said. He says, "I will run the defense." I said, "Okay, coach." That was the agreement I had with him, and that's the way it was going to be.
Wow. So, because I now that I think back, because another thing that I remember us fans talking, and that's why I love having you here because there's so much that I always wanted to ask. Was he against blitzing?
Yes, because this is what he believed. He believed he had the best corners in football. He believed he had that. You just said it. So what Al Davis believed in his plan, under cover one. We're going to play man coverage. We're going to rush the front four. We're going to man up on all the other guys. And quarterback, you better be good enough because he didn't think most quarterbacks could run. Now, he would have had to adjust in this day and age because Mahomes can run and Lamar Jackson can, you got guys that can run. But normally, Al didn't believe in that. The only other coverage he would play is cover three. He didn't believe in all this too deep and all that. Single high, let our guys play and let them. And it's something to that. That's why the Raiders were successful, and that's what he drafted to, So I understood it. Football is a little bit more complicated now, but during that time, he understood what was happening in the league, and he played to it.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, that's wow. I've always wondered that. I always wondered. So going into week 17, we're playing for a playoff spot. How confident were you going into that game, regardless of everything that happened?
I was so confident for this reason about the game, because I'll never forget that, we beat that team on Thursday night. We went down there to San Diego and gave it to them and they're on their home field. And I thought we were just better than them. I thought we understood what it took to beat San Diego. Right. And, we were having a great week of practice, and I can now share all this because I feel comfortable sharing it. The biggest thing for me, I knew probably before the game I wouldn't be back because I had a conversation with Mark. I'll never forget it. I sat down with Mark and I said, "Mark, I go, hey, is everything going to be okay, after we win this game and go to the playoffs?" And Mark would not, he wouldn't say anything.
He wouldn't commit.
He would not commit to anything. I go, I just need to know, because my staff at the time, one thing that was different about Al, he didn't sign guys to lengthy contracts. You know, the head coach was secure, but the other assistant coaches wasn't. And so I have coaches and their families who were, don't know what's going to happen. Al's not here anymore. How's this going to go? And it's my job to find out.
Right.
So I've been taught, you ask the person 3 times, and if a person won't commit, there's a good chance it's not going to work out. And so I'll never forget asking the 3rd time. And he goes, I'm not going to answer that. We'll talk about that another time. And I knew then. So I never forget telling the staff that the morning, that Saturday morning, I said, guys, you guys got to understand, we need to win. Winning solves everything. I thought it'd be hard to fire somebody at 8-8, because most coaches don't get fired at 8-8, but boy, if you make the playoffs, you really can't do it. Right. So I'll never forget sharing that with the staff. And like I said, we didn't get it done. And that's what it was.
Man. And I'm being a Raider fan. And one of the reasons I made this platform is because, I'm not sure how much you follow us now, but our fan base is in like a civil war right now. So a lot of negativity, man. And I'm trying to be one that, try to unite us, because so much people can't stand the ownership right now and the coaches and all that. So I try to really give Mark the benefit of the doubt. But one of the things I've always was upset about is how he allowed you to be let go. But this is crazy hearing this story, because it's like, wow.
Well, let me say this though, Chris. During that time, I understood it, right? I mean, Mark inherited the Raiders.
Yeah,
he inherited something that his dad built. I'm sure there was a lot of people coming at him left and right that wanted to help, that wanted to give him advice. He did what he thought was right. The reason why I respect him so much is after that decision, I end up back in Cincinnati. I'll never forget, we played the Raiders that next year. Me and Mark had lunch. We had lunch in Cincinnati. I'll never forget it. We sat there. We talked about the decisions, the Carson decision, and he said, Hugh, I don't know why you get so much grief on that. He told me he wished he had done things different because he just didn't know, so I couldn't get mad at him because I understood. I mean, here he is with this unbelievable opportunity, and here's all these people.
He wasn't prepared for that.
Yes, I mean, coming at him left and right and trying to get him to do it their way, and I get it. That was a lot, but I still talk to him to this day and have great respect for him and what he's trying to do. And again, I bleed Raiders, because of Al Davis. I mean, that was the guy that gave me my first opportunity. I want to see them do well. I want to see them win because they deserve. Because when the Raiders are winning, that's when NFL football is good to me.
Right.
And so I think, they're going to get it back, but how they go about doing it is going to be Mark's way, and they'll figure it out.
Absolutely. Kind of before I kind of get to just kind of what you're doing now, just a couple of final questions. So the Raiders state right now, and if you're not comfortable answering this, but how do you feel about like the Raiders as far as their coaching situation with Josh McDaniels? Because there's been a lot of people, back and forth if people like it or not. Kind of what's your thought on having Josh McDaniels and him bringing all his Patriot guys to the team?
Well, I mean, he's a head coach, and so he's going to surround himself with people that he feels comfortable with, whether they're players or coaches. And you have to give him that. If you hire him, you got to give him every chance to be successful. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what Mark's trying to do. I get it. It's painful, sometimes, especially when you're a Raider and you're looking from the outside in, because you guys know that there's different ways to do things, because Al was the pioneer of all of this. He showed everybody on how he went about doing things. But I think we all have to understand Mark's different. Mark's going to make his decisions, and he's going to do what he feels is right, for the coaching staff, for the football team. And I think everybody's got to respect that and give him a chance, to do that. At the same time, I think, I'm sure Mark is trying to figure this thing out. How do you get it back? How do you get the Raiders back to what the Raiders have always been.
Yeah.
One of the greatest football organizations in football. I'll always say this, and people don't talk about this enough. The other person that was instrumental in my success at the Raiders, besides Al Davis, was Amy Trask.
Yeah.
And Amy
Yeah.
Trask means as much to me as Al Davis did, because Amy was a person that was in my corner. Amy was a person who understood where I came from and how I rose there in the Raiders facility, and so, I mean, I'm going to tell you a story now that's probably going to shock you. So heading into the 2011 season, people forget we had remember the strike, right? The strike happened.
Oh,
Remember?
yeah.
So I never forget, nobody knew when everybody was going to come in, how they were going to come in, or anything. And like I said, it's fun getting some of this off my chest, fine, because I don't share this with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I never forget Al calling me and saying, okay, the team can come back. I said, okay. He says, okay, we have 14 guys that need to be signed. And I said, oh, wow. I said, I'm sure we'll get that done. And I'm thinking we have our GM that's going to do that. So Al, as you know, Al's a GM.
Yeah.
And he says to me, he goes, what do you mean? He says, I go, well, somebody's got to get these guys signed. We got to get the contracts done so all the players can be here on time. He goes, oh. He goes, you're going to do that. I go, what? He goes, you're going to do that. I go,
What?
I go, Al, I know nothing about being a GM, nothing about offering people money or any of that. Click, hung up the phone.
He hung up again.
Yes, I called Amy Trask. Amy Trask says,
Oh,
Hugh,
man.
he really loves you and trusts you. I said, Amy, I don't know nothing about this. I don't know how to do this. She says, you got to figure this out. I'll never forget, Chris, my first 4 days in Napa. I would stand up to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning with these agents on the phone with them cussing me out. Because I'm offering Samson Satelli, I'm offering our right tackle, I'm offering these players contracts, and I'm giving them a little bit more money, a little less money. We end up losing Zach Miller. Remember, Zach went to
That's why. Yeah,
Zach went to Seattle, right?
Yeah.
And Tom was there. I get it, but I was going back. I was driving the day when he was coming back to go meet him at the Oakland airport.
Because he was like, we got to keep you.
Because what happened was they had lowballed him. They wasn't going to give him all this money, but we sent baskets to the hotel. Man, we were trying to do everything the right way. I'm like, man, this is going to be good. I'm going to meet him and his wife. Before they left, Tom and Pete comes over and they give them the $10 million up front. We wasn't going to give him that. That was way off. But I thought we had a chance. And I don't know why I told Al, man, I'm feeling good. I'm signing players left and right.
It's like, not my money. You're Oprah.
Right. I mean, we're signing. I mean, I'm getting this done now. Here's the one guy that I got to get signed because this is the most important one to Al. And I said, Al, I never forget. I said, Al, I'm going to go drive to Oakland Airport, meet him and his wife, and we're going to get this done. I'll never forget when he was on the way back, he sent me a text, said, Coach, I'm going to go to Seattle. And it was starting to be reported what he got. So I called Al. I said, Al,
like, I can't.
We're not going to get him. And he goes, what? I go, we're not. I said, Al, he goes, oh, this is your fault. Click. Yeah, hung up the phone. Oh, yeah. I'll never, people don't get.
Oh, my God.
If he believed in you, he believed in you. There was nothing that I don't think he would trust me to do. And the last story I'm going to give you would probably make everybody laugh.
Oh,
remember the Monday night game, 2011 against Denver? Because remember, the Raiders haven't won a Monday night game.
Okay, yeah, because we usually lose. I remember I was at one of those games.
It was at night. It was the first game of the year, Monday night in Denver. I'll never forget it. We win the game. Darren McFadden plays his butt off again. It was a tight game. I think we won 16-13, something like that. But
Oh
we
yeah,
won.
yeah, yeah. McFadden had like a $150 or
Oh,
something.
it's
Yeah,
the night. It's the night that Sebastian kicks the 63-yarder.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. That was a
and
good game.
so we win the game. We're fired up. So I make this deal. I'm going. I want to give Al the game ball because this is. I mean, this is huge. We had never won on Monday night in a long time. I'm sure they've won over the history, but they hadn't won on Monday night. Started off the season 1-0 in a long time. The team is fired up. We get off the bus after, man, we're fired up. We go up the deal. Al is already in his chair. I'm walking over to hand him that ball. If you could have seen the look in his face, Hue, take that ball and shove it. And I'm going to tell you why, Chris, because he told me, he said, because you know what, Hue, the only ball I want is that trophy, is that
Ooh,
Lombardi trophy.
that's
This
all you
ball
got.
here, and you know, and that taught me something. You know what? It was great to start off the season that way,
It means
but boy,
nothing.
but you just, and it really didn't when you look at it. We had a chance to finish this thing and get to the playoffs and be in the tournament, and we couldn't do it. So that one game, yeah, it gave us a chance to get there, but it wasn't gonna mean nothing. But I wanted to celebrate. What I was trying to do is celebrate every historical moment
Yeah,
with him because I didn't know how
yeah,
long we would have him. You know, I
man.
knew I knew what I knew, but I didn't know. But I wanted to. I tried to all the time. There's times I go in his office and we just sit and talk about Luther Vandross and the
Yeah,
OJs and stuff like that. That's who Al Davis was, and people don't
so
know that.
cool, so
Oh my
cool.
God, he was amazing. He
Oh
was
man,
amazing, and he was amazing to me.
gosh, man. Thank you for that, man. Before I wrap it up, man, I know you've talked about it in other other podcasts and stuff, but why do you feel like you're not in the NFL? Do you feel like you've been blackballed, and
Oh,
do you even want to go
absolutely.
back?
No, I don't. I don't. I mean, only place I would go back to would be the Raiders. You know, and I tell you
Make it
why,
happen.
because I just know I know what we stand for. I know
Yeah,
what Al instilled in the organization. You know, again, you know the history of the minority coaches in the league.
yeah,
I
yep.
mean, this is going to be the 104th year, if I'm not mistaken. There's only been 28 minority head coaches in the 104-year history in the league. So that tells you something within itself. I'm fortunate and blessed enough to do it twice. My last, opportunity was way different. Regardless of what people think, I have no reason to lie about what happened or how it happened.
Yeah,
I took a job. They took an analytical approach and put the coach out there in front of it, and coach fought it the whole time. So it is what it is. But at the same time, people don't like when you tell the truth, and that's what
yeah,
bothers me more than anything. People don't like when you're being honest. I don't. Why would any coach lie about his opportunity? You would think that would hurt you more than help you.
yeah,
So I just, when I look at it, it was very frustrating. And I see the issues that happen with minority coaches. What I want to do is finish this journey of football the right way with what I'm doing at Grambling State University. I'm thankful for the opportunity there and impacting young men's lives that way. I still get a bunch of NFL players that call and coaches
mhm,
that I'm able to help, but I'm happy where I am doing what I'm doing. I mean, again, you always want to challenge yourself against the best, because at
yeah.
one time I was considered one of the best in the world at what I did,
Man,
so
yes, you
you,
absolutely were.
yeah, so you
Are.
want to you always remember that, but at the same time, I know the politics, I know the things that go on, and if God wants me to do it again, I will, and if He doesn't, I won't. That's just what it is.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, how's the team looking? How's Grambling? You guys getting
This,
ready?
oh yeah, I tell you what, last year was eye opening for me because I've never been in that conference, and
Yeah,
you look out there on game day, you go, uh-oh, that team's a little better than you.
it's different, a little different.
Yeah, so it's called recruiting. You go back and you start recruiting again, so you got to go put that recruiting hat on. When I was at USC, I recruited two Heisman Trophy winners, one being Carson Palmer, one being Matt Leinart. So I know
Yeah,
what that looks like, and so you have to go back and dig in and do those things again. I think we have, it's really interesting. I go back to my time at the Raiders. I go back to my time having those conversations with Al. The one thing that he taught me is you got to get speed, and we wasn't very fast.
Yeah.
And we're fast now. And
Yeah.
so we went and recruited some guys that can really run and guys who are athletic and big. And I think we got a chance to be a special football team. And the last thing I'll leave you with on that, I remember my conversations with Willie Brown, because Willie Brown played at Grambling
Yeah.
and was one of the Hall of Famers there and one of the greatest defensive backs in the history of the game. And there's times I look over there and I see some of the guys who are long and they look just like Willie, and I get very excited because he would be excited if he could see some of these defensive backs we have.
Yeah. Oh man, that's great stuff, man. Well, I'm excited to kind of watch what you guys do, man. Hopefully, I might be able to try to come down and watch you guys
Come
in
on.
person one day,
Come
man.
on. You do
Yeah.
on me. Come on down and be a part of it. It's an unbelievable experience. It's a fun
Okay.
time. There's nothing like a pregame and an HBCU
Oh, I
and the
know.
game experience is it's amazing. So
Oh yeah,
come on down.
absolutely. And you got to have a bottle of the Grand Leyenda.
Grand Leander, absolutely. You tell me which one you want. I got to make sure that happens for you too.
Okay, that sounds good, man. Well,
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate it, man. So thank you again so much. Again, you didn't have to take the call. This truly means the world to me, man. So I just want to tell you how much, because I don't even know if you hear it enough, but from us Raider fans, we appreciate you. We know how great
Thank you.
you are. We know, you gave us some good years, and we understand that it didn't work out the way it was supposed to, but we love you, Coach. And again, thank you so much for stopping by.
And Chris, I want you to know there's still to this day so many people who are Raiders that reach out to me. And
Mm.
they've been fantastic. Whenever I'm in Vegas, I see people. Whenever I'm in LA, I see people. It's just been phenomenal. I miss it. And I miss it so much just because it was one of the greatest times in my life. And with one of the greatest owners who really believe, when somebody really believes in you
Oh yeah,
and really want to do everything they can to help you get to where you want to get to.
yeah.
That's who Al Davis was for me. And
Mm.
so I don't know about anybody else's experience. I know what my experience was with him, with Mark, with Amy Trask. They were amazing to me. And I can't thank them enough.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much, man, and bless you, and can't wait to watch you guys play, and I'm gonna take you up on your offer.
Yes, sir. Come on down. I got you.
All right. Well, you take
All
care,
righty.
man.
You
God
too.
bless. All
You
right.
too. All right. Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it, guys. Man, like I said, that was like Christmas for me. That was like Christmas for me. That was some good stories, man. But guys, thank you guys for joining me. Make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I got some more goodies coming up. Got some more goodies up my sleeve, man. But man, that was a good one, man. That was a good one. But as I always say, guys, coaches, they come and go, but we must always protect the shield. You guys stay safe out there. And again, I know we go through a lot of trials and tribulations, man, but we got to stay united as a unit, man. God bless.